One man dreamt of uniting Africa and its diaspora through commerce, cooperation, and economic power. Another is dividing the global economy with tariffs, walls, and isolation. Marcus Garvey versus Donald Trump. Two visions, but one future at stake. Now, Garvey stood in Harlem in the early 1900s and proclaimed that Africa for Africans at home and abroad. But he wasn't just talking about repatriation. He was talking about reconnection through ships, through trade, and through enterprise. He envisioned a world where Africa and the Caribbean worked as partners, not dependents. Where ports in Kingston and Lagos would be hubs of exchange, not footnotes in someone else's supply chain. Garvey's message was clear. Unity is not just emotional, it also has to be economic. Now fast forward to April 2nd, 2025. Donald Trump is re-elected and back in power. He stands at a podium in Washington, D.C. and declares Liberation Day, a celebration not of freedom but of tariffs, a sweeping 10% tariff on all foreign imports into the United States, no matter the country. China gets hit the hardest, up to 145% in tariff. Europe, Canada, Africa, the Caribbean, all included, no allies were spared. Now, Trump says it's about protecting American workers. But for much of the world, especially small economies that relies on exports, this isn't protection. This is punishment. Global supply chains are scrambling. Investors are anxious. Countries that have depended on access to the US markets for decades are feeling the squeeze. Africa and the Caribbean are among the most vulnerable. Many African nations export raw materials that feed Chinese factories. When demand in China falls due to US tariffs, African exports are likely to drop as well. Now, at the same time, many African countries export goods directly to the United States under trade agreements like AGOA. But now they're facing a 10% tariff on everything, from cocoa and coffee to textiles and flowers. Africa and the Caribbean have become reliant on an economic system that they don't control. But here is the good news. They can choose something different. If America is turning inwards, Africa and the Caribbean must look to each other. You see, right now, the trading relationship between the African Union and CARICOM is weak, and that's putting it kindly. In 2018, CARICOM exported just $815 million to Africa, and imports from Africa, about $603 million. That's less than $1.5 billion in total trade. Now, for comparison, Africa exports more to Slovenia than to the entire Caribbean. And CARICOM trades more with Canada than with its ancestral cousins across the Atlantic. Now, this isn't because the opportunity isn't there. It's because the systems to do it do not exist. There are also no direct shipping lanes between Africa and the Caribbean. There are also few trade agreements, no harmonized payment systems, no direct flights, only a proposal for a Nigeria to Jamaica route, which hasn't yet started to take shape. So, meanwhile, this is what has been happening. Vanilla from Madagascar is exported to France, processed into perfume, and sold back to Africa and the Caribbean at triple the price. Cocoa from Ghana becomes Belgian chocolate, and copper from Zambia is shipped to China and turned into wires and sold back to regional markets. Africa and the Caribbean are trading with the world, but not with each other. Now, Garvey saw this pattern a century ago when he said, "The economic foundation is the most important thing in the life of a people. We can't have political freedom without economic freedom. We can't have cultural pride without economic pride." So now is the time for the Caribbean and Africa to act. Garvey's dream doesn't require us to sail back to Africa. It requires us to reconnect with it. We need a comprehensive free trade agreement between the African Union and CARICOM, not a symbolic partnership. We want a full-scale, modern free trade agreement that has ambition. And here is what I think should be included. We need the elimination of tariffs on all goods and services between the African Union and CARICOM nations. We need to create common standards for manufacturing, food safety, and digital goods. There should be open access for entrepreneurs and skilled workers with work visas that are processed quickly and easily. We need to launch an Africa-Caribbean mobility visa, enable student exchanges, joint university degrees, and work and study partnerships. Let our young people live, learn, and build across both regions. We need to develop integrated transport logistics infrastructure with support for air and sea routes between key cities like Accra, Kingston, Bridgetown, Lagos, and Nairobi. We should establish shared digital infrastructure, including cross-border e-commerce platforms and payment gateways, like extending the Pan-African payment and settlement system to the Caribbean. And most importantly, we need trade finance and investment support for SMEs, creatives, and agro-processors on both sides of the ocean. Imagine kente cloth from Ghana is sold in St. Lucian boutiques. Grenadian nutmeg processed in Senegal and distributed all across West Africa. Caribbean software engineers from Jamaica partnering with Nigerian fintech firms. Young engineers from Barbados interning in renewable energy companies in Kenya. Textiles made in Ethiopia shipped duty-free to Trinidad garment sector. Tourists from South Africa vacationing in Jamaica and Barbados. The possibilities are endless, but we need the economic courage and coordination to make it happen. But here is the good news. The Caribbean and Africa are not starting from zero. Quick favor, if you're enjoying the video, please click the like button. I'd really appreciate it. In 2021, the African Union and CARICOM held their first joint summit. And in 2024, a formal memorandum of understanding was signed to deepen relations. The Afri-Exim Bank opened its first Caribbean office in Barbados, offering $1.5 billion in trade finance. And 12 of the 15 CARICOM nations have signed partnership agreements with the Afri-Exim Bank. And as I mentioned earlier, there are plans for a direct air link between Jamaica and Nigeria. So there is some momentum. The Caribbean and Africa just needs to lock this into policy. Now, this isn't about rejecting the United States, China, or the European Union. It's about building strategic resilience. The global economy is shifting. Supply chains are changing. The old powers are becoming more protectionist. Africa and the Caribbean must respond not with panic, but with partnership. Africa has over 1.4 billion people, a growing consumer market with untapped potential. CARICOM is a gateway to the Americas, with access to Latin markets, strong tourism, services, and a strong cultural hub. Now combined, this partnership gives us a strong bargaining power on the global stage. It also gives us something more than just numbers. It gives us alignment, a shared history, a shared challenge, and now a shared economic future. So, what's next? If you're a policymaker, start drafting the framework. If you're in the private sector, begin by finding cross-regional partners. If you're in media, tell this story. If you're an educator, prepare the next generation for this reality. If you're a young person, learn about markets and languages across the Atlantic. Be ready because this is your time. Let's not wait for Europe to tell us what's possible. Let's not wait for America to lower tariffs. Let's build infrastructure. Let's build policies and pathways that put us at the center of our own economy. We already have the vision from Marcus Garvey. He gave us the roadmap. Now we hold the compass. This isn't just about trade policy. It's about independence. It's about resilience. And it's about power. Because trade just doesn't move goods. It moves the future. Shared prosperity is how we honor Garvey's legacy. Because while Trump is building walls, we should be building bridges. This is our Liberation Day, but not from tariffs, from dependency, from economic isolation, from the myth that we must go it alone. Africa and the Caribbean connected can build the future we've been denied for far too long. Let this be the moment we stop asking and start building. Now, if you like this video, click the like button, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please click the subscribe button as well. I'll see you on the next one.